criticisms of Josh Allen warranted?
I find this entire conversation to be this. I hesitate to use this term because I think it's misused and overused over the last few years, but this feels a bit like gaslighting.
Oh.
I think Josh Allen, for the last 4 years, has been one of, except for by me, least criticized quarterbacks in the entire league. For the first time in 4 years last year, he was very briefly criticized by people other than me, and then everyone got back on their P's and Q's, and he ended up getting an MVP vote. It was like a few weeks of, he sure does turn the ball over a lot, and then they started winning games by taking the ball out of his hands, and everyone's got back to, well, you know what, they could win the Super Bowl with Josh Allen. The reason people think I am Mr. Anti-Josh Allen or anti-Buffalo Bills is because I was the only person for years with any criticism towards Josh Allen. When the reality is, it's, I think, the opposite of what Brandon Beane's talking about. First, let's show the quote, because the quote has one piece of opinion and then just facts. One of the more overrated players in the NFL, that's opinion. Immense talent, that's a fact. Makes a lot of mistakes, that is a fact. Underdeveloped at winning at the line of scrimmage, I can't call that a fact. I think that is a fair take, so to speak. Tends to lock in on targets. I'll let the film guys tell me on that, but that sounds about right. More of a thrower than a precision passer, absolutely. Forces the ball into traffic. Sometimes that's good, but absolutely. Also, overrated does not mean bad.
Yeah.
I think crab legs are a touch overrated. Really good.
That's true.
I think U2 is overrated. Really good, but a little overrated. And then the reason I say it's gaslighting is this. Since Josh Allen came into the league, there has been one player to receive any MVP votes, first place MVP votes, without having his team win at least 12 games. Any guess who that is? Every player in the league the last 7 years? It's Josh. In the last 2 years, there have been 100 first place MVP votes given out. 98 of them went to the number one seeds in either conference. 2 went to someone who was not on the number one seed. Any guess who got both of those? It was Josh Allen. Last year, one guy other than Lamar Jackson got a first place MVP vote. It was Josh Allen. So I don't think he has been underrated. I think he has been, I'm sorry, you don't
think he's overrated?
Right. No, I think that he has been given more of a margin of error than any other great player, and now is a tiny bit of criticism, and his GM is acting like it's unfair, and it's not unfair. It is warranted. He's a great player, but a flawed player.
Yeah, I'm in the middle on this one. I'm yes and no, it's warranted. Yes, because when you look at Josh Allen and you talk about all the things that he has done, but he hasn't gotten done, when I say yes, it's because of the wins and losses and when they happen. When you talk about a guy that's considered to be arguably one of the best in the game, always in that top 5 talking conversation with Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and whoever else you want to, I say C.J. Stroud, and whoever else you want to put up there. But he doesn't get it done in the postseason. He's had the one postseason that we all, and I'm in that we all fell in love with. And that was the Patrick Mahomes Arrowhead duel where he just
13-second game.
13-second game. He went crazy. He played it lights out. Other than that, he hasn't been able to get over the hump of Patrick Mahomes. So you can say, yeah, he's a bit overrated. However, outside of that, statistically, no. Like, he gets it done. Like, other than the fact that he is a turnover machine, which I played with the guy like that was a turnover machine, but he was one of the best in the business, and that was Brett Favre. We dealt with it because high risk, high reward. But if you don't take those if he doesn't play that way, you don't get the best of who he really is. So for me, like, does Brandon Beane have a right to be bothered by this? Of course. This is your quarterback. And it's somebody talking about Josh Allen without putting their name on it. That's a whole other topic. But is it warranted? Yes and no.
So go ahead, Wildes. I'm sorry.
No, well, I wanted to throw the pass percentage stat at Greg and try to make sense of it. Because my theory is that perhaps people in the Buffalo Bills organization said, you know what? Maybe he's a little overrated as a passer. Maybe we should change the offense and take the ball out of his hands a little bit, start turning it, become a little bit more of a run team, and start winning games. Like prior to Joe Brady taking over, they were throwing the ball 59% of the time. After Brady took over, they went down to 48% of the time. This includes the playoffs. They started winning games, and it's the lowest in the NFL. Now, some of those runs were designed Josh runs, so he still gets credit for those. But now they're throwing the ball the least percentage-wise in the whole league, Greg. Doesn't that make you think that the offensive coordinator also thinks that Josh is a little bit overrated as a thrower?
No, I think they were trying to taper back on his ability to give turnovers to the opponent.
Yeah.
So but in the same sense, like the way he plays is what makes him special. It's what makes him different. It's why we even consider him being top 5, top 7 quarterback every single year.
Yep.
And so, yes, they had to temper that and dial it back, because if they didn't, he was clearly going to harm them. It had been ailing them all season long. Once they did that, it changed the way they looked offensively. Now you have to pretty much in the quote panel that you put up there where it was talking about at the line of scrimmage, is he a thrower or precision or what his decision-making skills are like at the line of scrimmage. That's what changed when you did that. Now it's like, okay, I have a great running play. I have a great running team now. Let's lean on that. I don't have to do all things and be hero.
So I think that's right, but I also think that Josh Allen, as a consistent passer, is one of the more overrated ideas in the league. The numbers are what the numbers are. And so here is where he has been in passer rating in his career. His third year was his best season. It was the year they actually made a conference championship game. They won 13 games. They got blown out by the Chiefs, but that was a Chiefs team that was defending champs at full strength, still with Tyreek. They were young. Since then, 16th, 8th, 16th. And I've shown this graphic multiple times. People get mad. They're like, passer rating. That's okay. Let's just do all the passing stats since that great season. That great season, he was just throwing the ball top 5 without a doubt, which is then when you add the running, that's how you become top 2, top 3. Since then, this is 3 years. 23rd in completion percentage, 15th in touchdown interception, dead middle in passer rating. That's a real sample. And when I say I think that there is a double standard, I bet I can prove it to the audience right now with a little quiz for the audience. Play along at home. Guess in the playoff game, the last game Josh Allen just played, what everyone now knows is the missed field goal game, because we're going to pretend that a tie game with 2 minutes left, with giving the ball back to Patrick Mahomes, is a guaranteed win, but that's fine. We can all pretend that. How did Josh Allen do in that game throwing the football? What do you think? Do you think he had 300 yards? Do you think he had 250 yards? Do you think he had a good... Because here are the numbers. In that game, Josh Allen threw for 186 yards. Yeah. In that game, Josh Allen averaged less than 5 yards per attempt. In that game, Josh Allen had 0 completions of greater than 15 yards. And there's been a home game against your arch rival. You have one of your least productive passing games of the year. And was that any type of narrative afterwards? Was that on? No, it wasn't. He, on the opening drive of the game, and the reason I push back on the running stuff a bit is this. Josh Allen's running is a bit of trick or treat. I think he's clearly one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the league. But it is, to act like any criticism is unfair, he's one of the least criticized players in football.
All right, odds to win the AFC. The champs are at 1. The Ravens are at 2. Buffalo tied with Cincinnati, and then the Texans coming in at the 5 spot. Greg, do you think the Bills are a legit threat to win the AFC?
Here's where I'm completely opposite of this. I don't think that they are a legit threat to win the AFC, simply because when I look at their roster and when I know their quarterback, although he is elite, he has still shown signs to where he doesn't rise to the occasion and deal the way that he needs to when it's all on him. When we say Josh Allen, go get it done, do we absolutely believe
The game you think of is the game you referenced.
Absolutely.
The game they ended up losing.
Absolutely.
That one, which
And
is not
so
his fault, but
it is
the
just
other's fault.
one. And so for me, I just look at their roster in previous years, and I feel like they were better suited, especially offensively, to make a run versus what they have now this year, a younger team, unproven guys, and you're saying our quarterback, he's an elite guy, put it all on his shoulders. Can he do it? That's to be found out. We don't know. And so for me, I don't think that they're a threat to win the AFC.
See, so this is where, and we're going to do it in about an hour. We're going to do, like we teased at the top, a Super Bowl bubble thing, and you'll see I have a bias in it. And it's a bias towards the quarterbacks I believe in. Even if they haven't proven it yet, the guys who I believe are A-plus talents, I think those teams are always alive. So, of course, the Bills are alive. Because at some point, he should corral all of it. That's what is, and I understand some of the audience might be confused by me having this take. I am not putting a ceiling on what Josh Allen ultimately will be. I'm just trying to be honest about what he has been up to this point. But we have seen stretches of football where it's like, oh, yeah, that guy can absolutely terrify you and win a championship. The question is, can he string it together at the right time? And the other question probably is, can someone else beat the Chiefs for him? Because I don't think they can beat Kansas City in a game that matters. I think that the best chance they had, they didn't get it done, and now there's a real psychological thing happening, which is why I showed that first play, which people think that's an odd criticism. I think that the Bills were on tilt the first play of that game. Stephon Diggs fumbled on their first play of the playoff game against the Chiefs, and Josh Allen threw a lateral on 3rd and 17 up the field because they were pressing from the very beginning. But I don't think if you have a consensus top 5 quarterback, you're eliminated. I don't, especially when he is, to be fair to Josh, when he can cover up some of the roster weaknesses because he can take off and be a running game unto himself. So I'm obviously not going to pick them, and they would not be one of my 2 or 3 favorites, but I'm not crossing them off the contender list because I think they still have talent on defense, and they have a guy at quarterback who, in moments, looks terrifying.
Across the country. So this is the opposite of bulletin board material. Everyone believes in the Chiefs. Are you worried, and do you think Kansas City is better off being doubted?
Greg, this is why the Chiefs winning this last Super Bowl was bad for business. And I mean it's bad for our business.
Yeah, literally.
It literally, and I don't mean this show specifically, I mean sports media as a whole. Because everyone now has either literally or figuratively bent the knee, and no one wants to doubt them.
I don't know if anyone literally did.
I think a few people did. I think a few people. But 2 years ago, I remember, I think we were still in boxes, my dear friend Kevin Wildes yelling at me, saying, oh, I'm sorry, I thought Tyreek Hill was good. And in that moment, he was trying to convince me that Matt Ryan and the Colts were a real threat, and all these teams that got better, and the Chiefs got worse. That was the conversation.
That was true.
And then Wildes came around. And then last year, the whole sports media world agreed in unison. The Chiefs are cooked.
Yep.
That obviously the Bills are more dangerous. Obviously the Ravens are more dangerous. And you know what? I'd rather play the Chiefs than play the Cleveland Browns with Joe Flacco slinging the ball the way he did. And then everyone looked like fools, except for 1 or 2 people, one really. And now no one's going to doubt them. I don't care if they start 0-3. No one is going to doubt them. And so it doesn't matter if they're better off being doubted. They're now undoubtable, unfortunately.
Yeah, you know why they're undoubtable, and I'm not picking the Chiefs just yet.
Well, yeah.
But the reason why they're undoubtable is because what he was able to do, and I was one that, doubted them
wrote
going
them off.
into the postseason.
More than doubted them, wrote them off.
I did. I pretty much
the ball.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
I think it's
Because what he was going to have to do was so different than what they had ever looked like and what he had ever done. Like, he's always been a fantastic quarterback and somebody that can be counted on in the waning moments of the game. He can win you the game. but to carry a team, to get guys who hadn't performed at the level that was needed all season long to finally just lock in for me. One game at a time, 4 quarters. Just catch the ball, get down, convert, step your game up a little bit. Patrick Mahomes was able to do that with a lesser talented roster last year than we had ever seen him with. And now, obviously, you add a couple pieces around him. Yeah. Based off what they did last year, it's like, yeah, okay.
I do think he needs a little bit of it, though, don't you?
What do you mean?
That Mahomes needs a little bit of chip on his shoulder, and I don't know if he has it. We have the bulletin board, but...
No, I don't, because arguably the best year he ever played was the Super Bowl defense. When nobody doubted him, when he was running away with MVP until he sat at the very end of the year. They were 14-1 when he played, and there were no questions. It still had Tyreek. Here's the problem, I think. Like, when we look back on what was the analysis of last football season, the reason people thought the Chiefs couldn't win, it'd be one thing was like, guys, this defense is too bad. I don't care how great Mahomes is. He's not on the field when the defense is out there. This defense is allowing 40 points a game. He can't overcome it.
Yeah.
The analysis behind the Chiefs being bad was what Wildes said right there. Their passing game wasn't going to be good enough. And that...
Well, they had the most drops in 3 years. They lost the Lions game because of a drop. They lost the Packers game because of a drop. Kadarius Toney's doing silly stuff.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily Mahomes-centric. I don't think any of us said Mahomes can't get it done. It was the guys he's throwing to are literally dropping the ball and giving games away.
I didn't say anyone's name. It was that people really convinced themselves that the Chiefs' defense was good enough to win a championship. The coach was good enough to win a championship. Their running back, nobody was like, the running game stinks. Yeah. The running game was going to win a championship. The Achilles heel for the Chiefs was going to be their passing game. And everyone thought it. And now I think people look back on it and they're like, well, that was dumb. We shouldn't have thought that.
No.
So now, it was definitively dumb.
No.
What do you mean no?
No, because if we look at what transpired over the course of the season, like we had records to show that they're just not good enough.
They dropped the ball. They dropped.
Simply.
Did that end up being right or wrong? I'm just curious.
It got corrected.
Oh, no, it didn't.
Yes, it did.
The thing is this.
It completely got corrected.
One of their receivers fumbled the ball at the 1 yard line going into the end zone in the playoffs. It did not get corrected. It was just overwrought the whole time. And the idea that that guy behind Wildes' head wasn't going, the idea that what you described, that it was a surprise, was, in my opinion, foolish. That maybe the greatest player we've ever seen at his athletic peak wasn't going to rally everyone to a higher level. That's what all-time greats do. And so the fact that the doubt centered around something that Patrick was in control of, not like when offensive line's all injured or the defense can't get a stop, something that he has direct control over, was ridiculous.
Direct control over guys.
Exactly. Now, I know you had the never a doubt all last year, but based off of what you saw when you were in your home watching your Chiefs play, you knew this was going to be the most challenging playoff run that they were going to experience.
The most challenging is different than can't win.
Well, of course you weren't going to give up on them because you couldn't.
No, because it would have been ridiculous. Because across the history of sports, if any scenario is the team has one of the greatest coaches ever, one of the greatest players ever, and the side of the ball he doesn't play on is the best they've ever had, that team would always be considered, if not the favorite, a second or third. And people lost their minds briefly, which maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll happen again, because it seems like we're not even in agreement that last year's doubt was foolish.
The reason why people lost their mind, I'm going to speak for me, because football is so unique. It's a one or done. It's a hit or miss. Like, you don't get a second game to get it right in the postseason. And so all of a sudden, I'm supposed to dismiss everything that we saw all season long and believe, you know what? I know Patrick Mahomes is the best player in this game, but is he good enough to where he can just do it by himself. And that for me is why it was, no, he wasn't. But somehow everybody else started to elevate their level of play.
But in order to believe that that had to happen, you had to dismiss already everything you had seen prior. You had to dismiss all the playoff runs. You had to dismiss the way the team changes, all of it in the postseason. And to answer Wildes' point, all of a sudden he's making guys catch the ball. All of a sudden he's throwing exclusively to Travis Kelce or to guys wide open. All of a sudden, yes, he is adjusting and making things simpler. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.